The Canberra Weekender, Tech Talk with Alex Zaharov-Reutt.
He is the editor of TechAdvice.life. Alex Zaharov-Reutt, good morning.
Good morning, Stephen Senetiempo.
Lots to talk about this morning. Before we do that, though, let's remind people that if they've got tech-related questions or they need some advice, they can give you a call on 6255 1206 or send us a text on 0488 266 266. Look, cyber attacks have been something that have been, well, it's been front of mind for most Aussies for quite some time now, particularly after a number of significant breaches that we've seen in recent years. But they're saying that cybercrime is likely to surge from $9.22 trillion in 2024 to $13.82 trillion by 2028. And we're talking trillion with a T.
Yes, this is from global and stats firm Statista. They put all sorts of statistics out. But what this is showing is that, cybercrime is obviously surging. And it's actually now much more than just, talking about ransomware and cybercrime and patch management and those sorts of issues. What we're having here is human burnout. People are actually also admitting that human error is actually causing a whole series of cybersecurity breaches. And so a firm called Sophos, one of the big cybersecurity firms, has put out its fourth report called The Future of Cybersecurity in Australia, Pacific and Japan. And I have this at my website, TechAdvice.life. People can read it, 62-page report. But they're saying that the five main causes of cyber burnout and fatigue are a lack of resources available to support cybersecurity activities, the routine aspects of the role, which is obviously can be quite monotonous, an increased level of pressure from board and or executive management. And what's happening now is that boards are being warned by the government that, hey, you'll start being liable personally for cyber breaches if you're not taking this seriously. But there's persistent alert overload. You're always getting all these notifications. You're always in a heightened state of awareness. And obviously the increase in threat activity, which is only massively grown since the pandemic, and that Statista is saying is going to not quite double, but massively increase, again, trillions rather than billions. So the issue here is that how are companies treating their staff? How are they making sure that they're giving them the tools and resources so they don't burn out, leave the company within a couple of years, and then that company has to find new resources and train new people who are going to be on exactly the same treadmill and merry-go-round. It's a pressing problem, but there are resources out there to help companies deal with this and for it to stop being an issue.
Do you think, though, because, what this suggests is that directors and business owners aren't taking it seriously. Do you think that's really the case?
Look, it's obviously now becoming such a huge issue. People saw the massive fallout of the Optus. It wasn't even a cyber attack. It was an error inside of the Singtel data center with Optus' system. It took the whole network down for nearly a whole day, and people couldn't pay for things. We saw the Medibank hacks, and so with Claire O'Neill, the federal minister looking after these areas, coming out just in the last couple of days saying, "Hey, directors, we're going to start finding you." It used to be in the old days when the internet first started that, we had an internet division, and it's become apparent that every business is an internet business of some sort because it's just such a vital part. And now every business has to be a cyber security business. They've got to take this very seriously, give the resources to their cyber teams. Otherwise, they're going to face, massive leaks of information, personal data, loss of business reputation, and the threat of government fines that could shut a business down.
Yeah, that's I don't know who that helps though. That's I guess the question I'm asking.
Well, look, obviously it helps the cybersecurity companies who are going to be engaged more. But what it's doing is it's just making cybersecurity the top level issue for these boards. They can't just ignore it and hope that it goes away. It's not just reporting to the government. It's not just reporting mandatory breach obligations. They have to take this ultra seriously, because if that information leaks, I'm receiving a whole stack of these fake emails telling me that I owe money to Norton or McAfee, or I've had all these 10 years worth of bills applied, and if you want to dispute this, no proper invoice ever says that. But if you want to dispute this, call this number, and then of course you ring in a panic, and I want my $500 sent back to my account. We'll give us your credit card details and we'll put the money straight back in. And then, of course, you've had more money taken out of your account. So, it's helping all of us in the sense that businesses have to take this really seriously. And this is happening. And this is now something that businesses are ensuring that they're looking after their staff. Because, again, if your staff leave. I mean, in the UK, before the pandemic, the average lifespan of a chief information security officer, like the boss of cybersecurity in a company, was less than 2 years. Then they left and became dog walkers or accountants because it was so stressful. Well, there are ways that you can get your staff to, there's a company called Cyberminds with a Z.org, and they use this 10-step protocol to give people much more resilience, not just to do burnout recovery, but burnout prevention. And they are working with universities so that university students are actually leaving university with these skills so that they're not actually just on this treadmill of being spat out by super amounts of stress, and they can actually be really responsible for protecting not just their own jobs, but all of our data.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's a fair call. We're taking your tech questions on 6255 1206. If you've got a question you want Alex to answer for you, or maybe you just want to chat about all things tech, give us a call. You can also text us on 0488 266 266. Now, this one surprised me, Alex. Bloomberg and Reuters are now reporting that Apple, I should say, has given up on its ambitions to build an electric car.
Yeah, they've been working on this since 2014. They even had merger talks, or they had talks with Elon Musk at the time. I mean, a long time ago. Elon Musk would have been an interesting leader for Apple, but Tim Cook didn't want that. And there was talk, like in 2019, that Apple had sacked a whole bunch of staff and they put some of their top people onto it. But it's been a decade. They were supposed to launch in a couple of years' time. And originally, Apple wanted its car not to have any brake or accelerator pedals. They didn't even want it to have a steering wheel. It was going to be totally autonomous. And then they realized, well, hang on, that's not such a good idea. And nowadays we're having issues where people don't necessarily want to buy electric cars as much as they did before because of charging. I mean, in Australia, they're going gangbusters. BYD is a big, you see them on the roads in Canberra all over the place, and they now sell more electric cars than Tesla. But in America, you've got people like Hertz who are getting rid of half their fleet. I've heard that the electric cars are the cheapest ones to rent in the States because people want the reliability of a petrol car. So Apple has, leaked to Bloomberg and Reuters. They've made no specific announcements officially, but that they're cancelling the project and they're redeploying their teams to focus really hard on the generative AI space that OpenAI, ChatGPT has sort of burst into the zeitgeist and everyone's using it. We spoke about that a couple of weeks ago with Dr. Natalia Ilyushina about AI and how it's just going gangbusters. In fact, even Windows has got an update for Windows 11, and they're going to be really pushing even more AI stuff. They want to monetize it. But Apple hasn't done much in this space yet. We should hear a lot about it middle of this year. They're late to the game following Samsung and all their incredible AI developments with the S24 Ultra. So, yeah, something had to go, and that was their electric car team. I'm sure they'll look at it and look at it again in the future, but Apple launched a thing called CarPlay, which most cars have, Android Auto and CarPlay. Yeah. And last year, they showed this CarPlay on steroids. The whole front of your dash was this CarPlay system. It could control the seats and the warming. It was much more than just maps. And a lot of people thought, well, hang on, if you're going to sell that to, all these different companies and you're making a car as well, why would they buy yours? So I think Apple has just basically seen the writing on the wall, and AI is where they want to go.
I had the opportunity to drive one of those BYD. I drove the Seal Sport, I think it is. It's the top of the line Seal. Very, very impressive piece of machinery. Yeah,
look, my cousin in Hong Kong has a Tesla, and when he puts it into that ludicrous mode, like, vroom, it's just so powerful. Yeah, just incredible.
This is going to be interesting because obviously there's a lot of talk here, particularly in the ACT. They want to force everybody to drive an electric car whether they like it or not. But one less option on the marketplace. But that's not to say that there's not plenty of other options and others coming into the market.
Look, I was at, again, if you go to my site, I was at the Everything Electric show a couple of weeks ago in Sydney at the Sydney Olympic Park, and like all the major electric car brands were there. There were all sorts of ways of harnessing solar energy and putting into batteries and charging your car that way and using your car as a battery on wheels should there be some sort of an outage, and they had test drives. And look, the market is strong, especially in Australia. I mean, I see driving up and down between Sydney and Canberra, all the petrol stations have been upgraded, or most of them have, and they've got electric charging stations. And in fact, the one that's at Pheasant's Nest, I mean, it's almost a mini suburb. It's got so many things there because they know that you're going to hang around to wait for your car to be charged, and they want to give you an environment that you're happy to do that. But the other person comes along with their petrol car, fills up in 5 minutes, and off they go. They can relax when they get to their destination in Sydney.
Yeah, and I think that's the real key to it, is the actual convenience of, particularly if you're doing sort of longer trips, etc. Now, the Australia's largest private satellite called Optimus, which is being launched by SpaceX, and it'll be like a AAA in the so this is going to be, how's this going to work? It's going to be like the NRMA offering roadside assistance.
Yeah, so this is a satellite being launched by two Australian companies. One is called Space Machines. They're a startup that's looking at satellites. And then there's another company called Advanced Navigation, and they've got the space-grade tracking system that can help this satellite jump between orbits in space. So it can actually go straight to satellites, and they can repair, refuel and upgrade existing satellites in space. So imagine if this satellite was like from NRMA or RACV or Q or T in other states, but for us NRMA, and it could come to you and fix your satellite. Now, satellites, if they have problems in space, at the moment you can't go out there. There's no sort of space shuttle program anymore, and refuel them and fix them and help them to extend their solar panels should there be a problem. I mean, satellites that can't extend their solar panels can't get charged. And so there's already 8,700 satellites in space, and this is meant to grow by 400% by the end of the decade. And there's lots of space junk out there as well. But having this satellite, which is launching this month, on board a SpaceX rocket, so they're paying money to Elon Musk to get this up there. Well, it's basically all that sci-fi stuff that people have spoken about for decades is all coming true. We need to have a repair vehicle in space, and this is going to be one of the first ones and one of the biggest ones, and it's Australian. Okay,
I like the sound. Well, they need to get one on the moon because that last rover they landed fell over, didn't it?
Well, it did. That's right. And this company is doing satellites that are orbiting not just space, but doing lunar orbits too. So we'll definitely have over the next, I guess, few decades. But we'll have robots in space. We'll have more spacecraft like space shuttle on steroids that could actually go and fix some of these things and fix lunar landers that have fallen over. But of course, if we have a spaceship that can land on the moon, well, we don't need lunar landers anymore. I mean, we'll have people there and robots as well. Robots are going to be huge.
All right, Alex, we'll take a short break and then we'll come back and talk more tech. Alex Zaharov-Reutt from techadvice.life is with us. If you want to give us a call and ask tech-related questions, 6255 1206 or text us on 0488 266 266. It is 20 minutes to 11.
Harvey Norman Samsung TV and soundbar run out on now. Be quick for huge savings while stocks last. Save $1,174 on Samsung 65-inch OLED TV, now $3,821. Save $1,200 on Samsung 75-inch Neo QLED TV, now $3,295. Save a huge $1,500 on Samsung 85-inch The Frame QLED TV, now $3,795. And save over $700 on top-of-the-line Samsung Surround Sound soundbar, now just $1,283. Harvey Norman Samsung TV and soundbar run out on now.
Everything Canberra for your weekend. Call 6255 1206. This is the Canberra Weekender on 2CC.
It's 17 and a half minutes to 11. We're talking all things tech with Alex Zaharov-Reutt for techadvice.life. Alex, nuclear energy is back on the agenda in Australia. The coalition party's going towards the next election with a full-scale nuclear policy. But a UK company in Sheffield has made some pretty good strides in, construction of nuclear equipment.
Yes, they're saying that they've made a pivotal moment in what's known as global welding development, and they've taken less than 24 hours to complete what's known as 4 thick nuclear-grade welds. Now, typically, this takes over a year to do, so this is going to massively speed up the construction of these nuclear vessels inside of the small to medium and, I guess, larger nuclear reactors. And they're saying it's a significant milestone. It's the first time they've been able to use an electron beam welding at this scale with 100% success and no defects. So, look, I mean, I'm sure it's going to still take a little while before this is commercialized, but, Isaac Asimov, the famous science fiction writer, was talking about miniaturized nuclear reactors that you could safely wear on your wrist or powering personal shields. All that's still science fiction. But, we should have had nuclear a long time ago in this country. I'm glad the coalition is going to go to election on this. And these sort of developments are going to make sure that nuclear will just be a standard part of life. And it's so much safer that modern reactors can't melt down like Fukushima and other things did. And, we need them ASAP. All this wind and solar is just very intermittent and a bit of a waste of time.
Well, it's interesting that a lot of the discussion around nuclear in recent years has been around small modular reactors, but there's now discussion of full-scale large reactors again, but also these micro-reactors where, something like an aluminium smelter, for instance, can have their own power plant literally on site so that they're not taking putting any pressure on the grid at all. They just generate their own nuclear energy from something, half the size of a shipping container, so to speak.
Look, Westinghouse has developed a nuclear reactor that they've run for 8 years without any water. Bill Gates was talking about nuclear reactors that you could sort of bury in your backyard and just, have your garden and other things and walk over it, and it's just on site. So, again, yeah, all these things make super sense. And with nuclear, you don't have to spend $100 billion building a whole new series of transmission lines. I mean, what an environmental waste of time that's going to be with all the equipment and all the precious metals that we need in our phones and other technologies. If we can upgrade our existing power stations to be nuclear, I mean, they're going to be decommissioned anyway, right, according to the government, then, have those nuclear reactors there, have them on site, have them small enough to be powering people's houses in a safe way. I mean, that's all yet to come. But yeah, this is the future. It was the future 70 or 80 years ago, and we're finally catching up to where we should really be.
No doubt about that. Now, Alex, once upon a time, Mobile World Congress was the biggest mobile phone conference in the world. Samsung and Apple more recently are doing their own launch events, but this thing is still pretty big. It's wrapped up in Barcelona recently. What did we see?
Yeah, look, I actually spoke last night with Chris Griffith, a former senior writer for The Australian. He was there for 15 years. Now he's a freelance journalist, but he was at Mobile World Congress, and he gave me a fantastic... We spoke for 40 minutes, so if you go to my site, you can watch that. But he posted a whole stack of articles, and look, SpaceX is testing low Earth orbiting satellites texting service coming soon to Optus, for example. DeepMind CEO, which is part of the Google team, we're talking about AI drugs targeting proteins and helping with other medicines. Google admitted that it was being blitzed by OpenAI in the generative AI space. There was an alarm raised over generative AI's massive water consumption. There's a new thing called Li-Fi, which is mainly being used by the military, but it sends information over light, which can't go through walls, so much harder to hack. ZTE, which is usually rebranded as some Telstra phones in Australia, but they had a tablet with a 3D display, a bit like those Nintendo devices. Samsung unveiled its Galaxy Health Ring, AI stuff on its ring. There was a BlackBerry-style keyboard for iPhone 14 and 15 models for people who prefer the clicky keys. Lenovo was showing off a laptop with a transparent screen. I don't know how good that is for privacy if someone's looking at your desk and they can see what you're typing, albeit back to front. But this transparent tech, it used to all be sci-fi, but now it's becoming real. HMD, who makes Nokia phones, announced a deal with Mattel to make a Barbie pink-coloured flip phone.
Right.
Apparently it's going to be a dumb phone, like a feature phone. And I was saying on X and elsewhere that that's an insult to women. Women are not airheads. They want, the full Android experience. I mean, yes, they're saying our flip phones allows you to switch off and turn off notifications and not be consumed by your phone, but it's like you can turn all that stuff off on your phone if you don't want it. Telstra is to test texting via these low Earth orbiting satellites. They're going to address remote communications in Australia, and Telstra and OneWeb are rolling out fast mobile using these low Earth orbiting satellites, and that's just a slice. So that was a huge show, absolutely jam-packed. And if you want to see more detail on all of that, come to my site and watch this 40-minute video. All
right, well, we might talk about some of those things individually in a moment. We'll take a short break. Alex Zaharov-Reutt is with us from techadvice.life, talking all things tech. If you've got a question you want to ask him, give us a call, 6255 1206. Text us on 0488 266 266, or you can indeed send us an email by heading to 2cc.net.au and clicking on the feedback icon. It's 12 to 11.
Now at Domain, big laptop sales on the big brands. Acer Aspire Light laptop with long-lasting battery offers up to 10 hours of usage, now $848. Save $400 on the Lenovo IdeaPad Flex 5i laptop and get a better angle thanks to its 360-degree hinge plus massive 512GB storage, now $998. Save $550 on the Acer Aspire 5 laptop with the powerful 13th Gen Intel Core i9 processor and Intel Iris Xe graphics, now $1248. Hurry, limited time only, now at Domain.
Everything Canberra for your weekend. Call 6255 1206. This is the Canberra Weekender on 2CC.
9 to 11, we're talking to Alex Zaharov-Reutt from techadvice.life. Alex, you mentioned that at Mobile World Congress, Samsung announced the Galaxy Ring. Tell us about this thing.
Yes, look, it was on display. It was in a case. They have it in silver, gold, and black, and it's going to be very much a health tracking device. So it'll track your sleep, track your blood flow, your ECG, blood oxygenation levels, and you'll also be able to use the ring to control various things. So you could wave your hand in the air or perhaps touch it to have it do things on your phone. It will be linked with the Samsung Health app. It's obviously less of a thing to have to wear than your phone. I mean, your watch rather on your wrist. It's smaller. It's supposed to have up to 9 days of battery life, depending on what features are turned on. And look, there's talk that Apple are going to release one as well. There have been other sort of rings in the past, but Samsung has obviously the wherewithal, the manufacturing to make sure that this goes out widely, links with its existing ecosystem, and delivers real benefits. And so we'll see this in the second half of the year, and no doubt it'll be $500 plus or something like that, probably more, but you never know. But you'll start seeing these. I mean, as I was talking with Chris yesterday, in sickness and in health, right, in wedding vows, are you going to pass over the Samsung ring to get
well, because
your partner's health is like?
I was just having a look at them online. They do look like a wedding ring. They're not the kind of thing it's a fashion ring.
There's no bling on it. There's no stone on it. Yeah.
So, although I've got to say, something like this does appeal to me. Is it something that has to be charged up? I mean, how do they work? Do they connect to your phone?
Yeah, it will have Bluetooth. It will have up to 9 days of battery life. So you're probably looking at least 3 or 4 days if you have all the features switched on. You will have to take it off and put it into some sort of charger, probably a magnetic induction charger, just like wireless phones are charged right now. And so, look, they've been on display. They were there. They're coming. Obviously, all these questions about battery life and all that's truly yet to be unveiled. They're keeping some of those things close to the chest, but they want it to be convenient. I mean, if it really does have like a week's worth of battery life and you can charge it up pretty quickly because it's obviously will have a very small battery inside. Yeah. Well, when you're having a shower or something, and obviously be waterproof. If you have this ring when you go running, when you're sleeping, tracking all the various metrics that we can take with our watches and phones. Well, this will be even more personalized, be able to get even, better data. And this will be the first of many versions that will get ever smarter in the years to come. I mean, probably someday there'll be some sort of light projection. Like you remember the Green Lantern that had a little light popping out of the ring? Yeah. Well, they'll probably have something like that too, in years to come.
See, I have a Samsung fitness tracker, and actually I just had to buy a new band for it because the band snapped on it. But I bought it because I like the idea of being able to track my sleep, but then I don't want to wear something on my wrist while I'm asleep.
Well, the ring will be a much easier way of doing that. Yeah. And look, you can get apps on your phone that you can put the phone next to on your side bed table or something. Yeah. But it's much better when it's actually on your body. And a ring is much less obtrusive than a watch or a fitness band. And I think it'll be successful. And look, Apple's reported to spend a lot of money on this too. So this is one of the next big things.
All right, I guess we'll wait and see. Hewlett Packard, or do they still call themselves Hewlett Packard, or is it just HP now? They've launched a new range of laptops.
Yeah, look, everyone's going to be launching new laptops pretty soon with this new Windows Copilot key. They're all AI enhanced. And, your personal AI assistant in a portable package. They're going to have Intel and Ultra and AMD Ryzen processors. We're going to, no doubt, hear plenty of ads about Harvey Norman and Domain and all of our sponsors are going to be offering these very soon. And the big push will be to make sure that your PC is an AI-enabled PC, because the chip that's inside, built into the main chip, will enable you to do generative edits, deleting things, automatically asking your computer to do various tasks for you. And instead of having to go to the cloud and getting that information from there, it'll be able to do it all on device. And look, everyone needs, every manufacturer needs a reason to convince you to buy a new PC. All this AI stuff is part of that reason. I mean, if you had, for example, you were in meetings and things, and you connected your phone and you transferred those across, the computer would just transcribe all of those for you. One of the other features in this big Windows 11 update coming now for people who've got Windows 11 is that you can switch on the webcam inside of your smartphone, your Android phone, and instead of using the camera that's built into the top of your laptop, you use that particular camera. I mean, Apple's had that feature for some years, but it's very cool. I tell people, why are you using the webcam in your laptop when you're in a Zoom meeting? You probably have an old phone sitting in your desk drawer with a much better camera. You get one of those little tripods. So all these features are coming. The world of everything is being augmented by AI, and if you have got an older PC, the manufacturers are very keen to sell you a new one.
Now, quickly, Alex, before we go, iOS 18 is due towards the end of the year, and apparently it is going to allow people with even older devices to upgrade.
Well, that was the rumor. Since then, the tweet that leaked this has taken away the iPhone XR and the 10s and the 10s Max. So apparently be the iPhone 11, which will be getting it. But that was what we sort of always assumed. Apple drops the very oldest ones. But there'll be a huge AI push at Worldwide Developer Conference later this year. And I'll no doubt be talking about lots of AI stuff in the weeks and months to come. And just before we go, I wanted to remind people to watch my TV show tonight. I'll be having a chat with the guys from about the Optimus satellite, and also I'll be talking about that mental health and cybersecurity report because they're two huge issues. But yes, the AI is just endless. Apple is going to be doing a huge push, and our lives will be forever changed.
Fantastic. Alex, good to talk to you. We'll catch up again. Well, I think I might be with you next week. I'm not 100% sure, but maybe I'll see you next week.
Great.
All right,
Looking
mate.
forward to it.
Good on you.
Thanks,
Alex
Steve.
Zaharov-Reutt from techadvice.life. He'll be back with us next week here on Canberra Weekender. If you have got any tech-related questions, by all means, email them through to us, 2cc.net.au, and click on the feedback icon, or you can go to his website, techadvice.life, and communicate with him there.
On the Canberra Weekender, Tech Talk with Alex Zaharov-Reutt.